So my name is Adrian and I'm the founder and director of the Blue Wren Foundation and also work as a counsellor and psychotherapist as well. And I've been in the men's space for over 20 years, sitting as a facilitator in men's groups, but also sitting on the other side of the chair and actually participating in men's work as well. And I've been involved with the CEO Challenge for probably about 6 years now, I think. I met Rob Reed originally, came to a function, and over the last 4 years I've been taking part in the D2D runs, and I'm really enjoying them as well. Okay, so probably a few things to share would be a few different perspectives of how I work with men. One is direct counselling, so I do one-on-one counselling with men. Oftentimes it's men coming because they have challenges in the relationship. Sometimes it's about the vocational space, but I always find it's about finding out what's really going on underneath the veneer, what's actually behind the scenes that's going on, and then looking at how to support men, particularly in that relationship space, to become a better man. And I think that's always the challenge, is, as a good friend of ours, Michael says, he says, I know I'm a good man, but I want to be a better man. And I think that's a really good place to start from. In terms of the Blue Wren Foundation, that started 6 years ago now, and we work predominantly with men in the space of doing the programs called the Line in the Sand program, and that's about supporting and helping men learn some new skills on not stepping over that line in the sand in relationship with themselves and also with their partners, whether that's past, present or future partners, and giving them some skills around the physical, emotional, mental and spiritual space, so that they actually don't then go and violate over that space. So we talk about the violation of the space or the violation of the other. So teaching some men some basic communication skills, some skills about developing control of anger, control of emotions. So we do that over a 2-day period in our Line in the Sun programs, and really enjoy that work. That's fantastic. Yeah, so in terms of male DV victims, I've worked with both victims and violators, trying to change the paradigm around the language around that as well. And so yeah, but we don't actually have any specific programs for male survivors or victims of DV, but we certainly have worked with them professionally, individually as a counsellor, but currently we don't have any programs in the Blue Wren Foundation, but they are in the pipeline to develop in the future. But oftentimes what we find is when the men come to do the work, they would divulge over those 2 days that they actually have been victims, and it's the safe space they've suddenly found where they're able to share that comfortably in a safe space, and that's quite revealing and cathartic for them, and quite relieving in some way, because they have men to hear their story about perhaps why they've been violators themselves, and it's become part of what they've known. And not as an excuse to violate, but it's the reason that they find of why they've done it, because it's learned behaviour. So we then try to undo that behaviour in that space as well. So this probably started for me way back as a child myself. Had some challenges in my own family with my parents, usually around the alcohol space, back in the UK, sort of 50 years ago. And it wasn't a very pleasant experience. My parents did separate, got divorced, and I was about 10 years old. So there was something always there for me, knowing the challenges of violation, family domestic violence and conflict in relationship. So carrying that through as consciously as I could in my own relationships with my girlfriends was forefront of my mind. Wasn't always an angel, of course, like we've all got our challenges. But then getting into my psychotherapy and counselling 20 years ago, a lot of my clients started to come towards me, and it was around the DV space. And then working in men's groups and men's space, that topic was always there on some level, whether it was from a perpetrator, violator perspective or a victim perspective. And then about 6 years ago, Rosie Batty came to Brisbane to launch her book, and I went along, had a quick conversation with her, and went home and had a conversation with my wife and said, I really feel like something needs to be done. There's something more I need to do in that DV space and the men's space. So she actually challenged me to step up and do more. and the Blue Wren Foundation was born from that conversation. Whether it's male or female or otherwise, you know, whoever is in that situation and they feel unsafe, if they feel threatened, always, always, always calling out for help. You know, don't wait until it's too late. So how can we prevent it escalating and how can we stop it? And usually that's make a phone call to one of the services, including the Blue Wren Foundation, and then getting that needed support. It's really important to get the support because a lot of the time the phone call isn't made soon enough, as we well know, and then it goes down the rabbit hole a little bit too deep, and once people are in there it gets harder and harder and harder to make that phone call. So I always say, even if things are seemingly wrong and you don't really quite know what is wrong, still make the phone call. I think it's really important. So I encourage that a lot. My first question always in a potential DV space is, are you safe? And then we're checking out the safety of the person, and if they're not safe, how can we make you safe? Do you need to put up some boundaries? Do you need to actually leave the situation? So we ascertain what's actually required for each person, because it's individual for everybody, it's very different for everybody, as we know.